Max observes the town's terrible condition and several enormous towers every few miles on the route to the metropolis. Their defense against adversaries. Guy explains, a tower's base is destroyed by an explosion at that precise moment, causing it to fall into the road. The debris kills a few people as they attempt to flee, destroying the majority of the trucks. By 2157, humanity had eradicated terrorism, starvation, and conflict and created the great theory of education. Space travel is now commonplace. Medicine has progressed to the point where it can cure any illness. Max's family wants him to return to college, so he is ignoring their calls while exploring the universe in his own spaceship. When an asteroid strikes the ship unexpectedly and seriously destroys it, Max has to prepare an emergency landing. Sadly, the ship can no longer be controlled and crashes on the closest planet. Max is stuck on this weird land when he escapes just before it collapses. He begins to investigate and finds evidence of a blaze before spotting a monster hidden close by. Max attempts to speak to it, but the monster flees as a soldier called Ziff unexpectedly discovers them and points his gun at Max while uttering an incomprehensible word. After Max takes a small translation gadget from his belt and inserts it into his ear, the soldier shoots at the belt to make Max lose it, arrests him, and transports him to the closest town. Max is shocked to realize that the village resembles a bleak depiction of Earth, much like what he has read in history books. It is agreed that he will be taken to a mental institution in the capital with Soldier Guy as his escort, after he is sent to a lab where scientists place a helmet on his head to examine his thoughts while they question him. Despite this, they still do not think he is an extraterrestrial. At that point, everyone in the region pledges allegiance to the government while fervently chanting the national anthem. But ZF has a seizure and collapses, and the authorities whisk him away. Guy becomes trapped beneath the debris when a massive metal road pierces Max's truck. But Max reacts quickly and powerfully to pull him out before the approaching flames can reach them. Max then finds out that the rebels need the towers, since they are on a mission to overthrow the government. They are now forced to continue traveling on foot. When Strider, the chief of the Department of Special Research, learns of their arrival in the capital, he instructs his staff member Funk to take Max to his office. Max is being held at a hazardous facility in the meanwhile, where they have placed him inside a water tank to continue monitoring his mental state. Nevertheless, Funk interrupts the experiments by removing Max against the scientist's wishes using Strider's badge. As this is going on, State Prosecutor Umnick urges his staff member to monitor any updates regarding Max in the government building. Umnick then decides to have the seizure in private by hiding in his bathroom after realizing the time. Funk has to find an alternate route when he discovers the road is blocked while driving Max away. Noticing the time makes him anxious, and that's when he begins to have a seizure. When the police arrive to pick him up, the entire community starts chanting in support of the government and accuses Max of being a degenerate for not joining in. Max takes advantage of the confusion and makes his getaway right away. It is disclosed in the government building that Strike and Umnick are among the unknown fathers who control the nation's dictatorship. They are cruel to each other, as evidenced by the fact that the other fathers kill him right away when he makes a mistake. After some time spent exploring the city, Max finds himself in a bar where he meets Rada, a waitress, and immediately falls in love. Additionally, Max confronts another customer for being overly controlling with her right away. The man is enraged and tries to attack Max with his cane, but Max is quick to disarm him and injures his arm to frighten him away. Max and Rada talk a lot for the remainder of the afternoon. She learns about Earth and space from Max, and it turns out that Rada is Guy's sister. Max is also invited to stay at her house. Eager for retribution, the previous customer blocks their path as they leave. Even though he has backup, Max is still quicker and avoids their sword attacks right away. The men then battle him hand to hand, but Max beats them up in a matter of seconds because their blows hardly register. The other members of the gang then show up with larger weapons, but Max is able to combat them all at once regardless of how many they have. Max simply uses these weapons to drag the enemy around and finish knocking them out, but a man suddenly catches his leg with some rope, and they then grab his neck with a whip. When only the cane man remains, he tosses Max a tiny bladed sphere, which Max easily avoids. Guy also returns home later at Rada's house and is startled to see Max, but he remembers how he saved him and lets him stay. As the days go by, Max discovers a lot about the local way of life, such as the fact that his ideas are being shown on TV like a movie. Additionally, the inhabitants are taught that there are no other planets or stars, and that they reside inside the planet rather than on its surface. According to history, the nation was spared when the unknown fathers used the towers to halt the war against the rebels known as degenerates. Guy invites Max to join him as a guard because he is so excited about wanting to protect his house. Guy must persuade Commander Chachu to let Max join since he lacks identification and documentation. Max must first complete training, which entails learning the chant and participating in mission trials where he must run through burning areas and shoot at signs that represent degenerates. Since a companion isn't as good at shooting as Max is, Max gives him some advice on how to do well. Later on, though, Guy chastises him in private and tells him not to do that ever again because their superiors require it. At home, Max works out vigorously while Guy tests his memory by asking him questions about the rulebook. They spar occasionally as well. Max spends his leisure time with Rada, and the two eventually share a kiss. Max participates in his first raid in rebel territory after being accepted into the army with the utmost brutality. The soldiers kick people and use bombs as they storm into buildings. Max drops his gun instantly after realizing that the so-called rebels are just scared regular people. A rebel emerges from hiding and starts shooting at them while the others are arresting them, but he is swiftly taken out and Chachu begins kicking him for amusement. Max then witnesses dozens of regular people being violently detained and forced into trucks. Max responds that the word degenerate had led him to believe he would encounter wild beasts rather than just impoverished people when Chachu questions him about why he dropped his weapon. Max clarifies that he doesn't feel pain at all, but Chachu starts disparaging the rebels and calling them trash while acknowledging that they experience pain like everyone else. The fathers later judge the rebels while illuminating them with bright, hot lights. While some inmates deny engaging in any rebellious activities, others taunt the fathers by naming all the victims they have murdered. Some inmates are sent to perform daily tasks, while others are put to death based on their attitude. The fathers punish the rebel by placing him inside a suit that contains a gas that burns the skin, and he shows him a mechanical arm he had to get after the guards cut his. Max must conceal his disgust as he watches it all. He later tries to explain to Guy the wrongness of all this, but Guy responds by defending the policies of his government. Because Max is so outspoken, Funk eventually locates him. By the time Funk arrives at their house, Guy and Max have already left because they are called to Chachu's office later in the evening. Chachu takes Max to the forest and demands that he shoot the two rebels who have been given death sentences because he wants Max to demonstrate his loyalty in light of the previous events. Pretending to shoot the rebels, Max removes them but instead lets them go. He then approaches Chachu and declares his resignation. Chachu, enraged, ignores Guy's cries for mercy and starts shooting at Max. Max's body is then left in the forest as Chachu carries Guy back to the capital. The fathers are currently debating strategies to ultimately stop the rebels' attacks. However, Umik suggests that he wants more war by pointing out that now would be a great time to gather all their guards into a massive army. The others support a full invasion, but they will need to convince the public that war will resume, possibly by staging a fictitious assassination attempt. Max's body heals quickly, so when the rebels in the forest find in the evening, they are surprised to see he is still alive. Max describes Earth's medical technology and notes that his people are unaware of what a fatal wound is. Only a direct shot to the head will stop him. The rebels respond by claiming that the towers aren't for defense, but rather are used to brainwash people, and that the fathers are autocrats who seize power by force. For this reason, twice a day at the same time, they always experience a patriotic frenzy. In order to hunt them down, the government has used propaganda to label those who are immune to these waves and instead experience seizures as degenerates. The rebels put a stick in their mouths to prevent choking during their seizure, as the towers began to send waves at that precise moment. Umnik does the same thing in private in the city. Max assists the rebels in going through it, because he is painless due to his earthling body. In order to enter tower territory, Max and the rebels then tore down a fence. Max dashes through the building without worrying about incoming bullets as the rebels start shooting at the soldiers and the alarm is sounded. He uses his bare hands to knock down any soldier who tries to stand in his way. While some rebels are killed, others attempt to hide behind walls, so they can keep shooting the enemy until they die. Before rushing out, Max installs a number of bombs beneath the tower and throws a rope through the hooks on each rebel's clothing, dragging them out with him whether or not they are still alive. The group escapes to the forest just before the explosion brings down the tower because of Max's strength. Max and one man are the only survivors after another rebel passes away from his wounds. Later, Max returns to the city covertly and meets Rada again, not realizing that a neighbor has noticed him and has called the police. An argument breaks out when Guy gets home, and Guy tries to eject Max. As soon as the authorities show up, Max rushes outside to protect the siblings and begins beating up the soldiers who are waiting. He works quickly and effectively, but Max is forced to give up when Chachu kidnaps Rada. Max is then sent to jail along with ZF and the man with the metal arm, among other inmates. Strike pays Umnik a visit in the interim, and as a subtle form of torture, Umnik forces him to sit on a chair that is intentionally so narrow that it causes discomfort for visitors. Strike requests that Umnik release Max so that he can study him because he oversees the re-education program, and they work out an agreement. But after Strike departs, Umnik discovers from Max's profile that he is seizure-free. Umnik, who desires that power for himself, gives his employee instructions to kidnap Max and make it appear as though he mysteriously disappeared, as well as to notify Strike that Max tragically died in action. The inmates must gather up every weapon left over from the conflict when they are sent to the forest in the morning to clean. When Max's group spots a group of defense robots, they instantly fall to the ground as the robots start shooting in circles and showing no signs of stopping. When the time is right, the inmates retaliate, taking down the robots one by one until they are all gone. After that, Ziff tells Max about the creature he saw when he got there, and the group keeps searching the area. They should be killed immediately or they will be killed first, he claims, because they are dangerous mutant humans. Max intervenes to save Ziff after he stumbles into a secret hole after some time of wandering. They find a network of tunnels beneath the ground and begin to walk through them until they come to an old, deserted building. They switch on the electricity after spotting a beast skulking in the shadows and discover some antiquated machinery. Max warns Ziff not to shoot the beast as it takes advantage of their distraction to run away while they are gazing into some lenses that depict the desert. The beast damages equipment to cut the power before attacking, and the two are appalled to see human bones on the ground. Max is strong enough to fight the beast with his bare hands, but manages to get Ziff in a very tight grip that is ready to bite him off. He defeats the beast after much effort, saving Ziff just in time. Max later removes the ropes and allows the beast to flee while Ziff is asleep. Max clarifies that these creatures are not animals in response to Zeff's reprimand. Max and ZF rejoin the metal arm guy the following morning and carry on their search. A black tank that moves freely attacks them as they approach the small red tank that is entangled in a tangle of vines among the trees. The group tries to open fire while running to hide behind the trees, but the tanks are unaffected by their shots. Fortunately, Max has a brilliant idea. He fires at the red tank to get it to react, and when it tries to fire back, it accidentally brings down the black tank. Max then slips beneath it, emerges from behind, and climbs inside, severing the wires to stop it. Max tells the others he's leaving after they've finished eating. Although there are security measures in place to prevent the prisoners from fleeing, Max enters the tank and steers it south, while nearby hidden mines detonate without causing any harm. Umnik lashes out his office after finding out that Max got away. Max eventually discovers a few soldiers policing the road, and he is appalled to see rebels who have been put to death close by. Although regulations require that every vehicle be searched, he makes an effort to remain hidden inside the tank. When Max realizes that Guy is the soldier who is jumping on the tank, he smiles and pulls Guy inside before moving forward and destroying the gate while ignoring the other soldiers who are firing because they are unable to harm the tank. Guy tries to flee as they travel through uncharted territory because he is angry that they might be put to death for this, but Max holds him captive and assures him that